America's best days are yet to come. That's because conservatives like you know and live the values our great country was built on. The Heritage Foundation exists to make sure your voice is heard in the D.C. swamp each day, shining the light on a bright future. The Heritage Foundation stands for your values and won't give up the fight because they know you never will. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. You know, to the handful of affiliates, to some folks in the audience, minority of course, people online who ask me, why do I keep talking about these issues of Marxism, Islamism, anti-Semitism, anti-Americanism, anti-Israel? Why do I keep talking about this? You know, it's an amazing thing. People think this is parochial. That because I'm Jewish, I always talk about Israel and the Islamists. It's really quite shocking to me. Who's committing most of the terrorism around the world? Who? Who's massacring Jews? Who's massacring Christians? Who's massacring Americans? It's just incredible to me. We're not talking about this enough. And who's been pointing out the people who are responsible for this vile poison, the spread, the metastasization of this cancer? I have. Why? Because it'll destroy the West, it'll destroy the United States, it will destroy us, Mr. and Mrs. America. That's why. History proves it. And it's not a joke. And when the history books are written, it'll be you in this audience. It'll be this show that would not be silenced, would not be intimidated, would not be threatened. I don't do things for ratings. We get great ratings, but I don't do them for ratings. I do them because I'm on a mission. Because they're right. Back in May, I did a program on Fox, highly critical of Iran. I felt the time had come for our country to stop preventing Israel, or put it differently, to give the green light to Israel that wanted to take on Iran and take out those missiles. I was asked, I was invited by the president to speak with him. And I'm not going to get into the details, and I never have. But that apparently triggered Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon, Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and the rest of the reprobates to unleash. It was always under their skin. It was always in their brain. It was always in their soulless soul. To attack me with lines like neocon or Tel Aviv Mark or there's the Jew. Folks, I've been warning for a long time now, a long time, about this cancer, this Islamist cancer. And it turns out, of course, that the leader of the pack, Carlson, is trashing our country, trashing Christianity, trashing Judaism, trashing the West, the greatest generation that defeated Hitler, all in service to Qatar. You see, the way I see it, America, it's not the Reagan supporters, the Tea Party activists, the Convention of State supporters, the Trump supporters. We're all the same people. Those are our values. Those are our principles. We have to defend our civilization. There is a barbarian movement, a primitive movement of 7th century Islamists that are based in, among other places, but particularized in the Middle East. Not Indonesia, not Singapore, where there are hundreds of millions of Muslims, but in places like Qatar. And they're serious about what they're doing. They attack the Judeo-Christian belief system. Our nation is founded on the Judeo-Christian belief system and the Enlightenment. Islamism wants to destroy the Judeo part, the Christian part, and has never gone through the Enlightenment. Their scholars, so-called, many of their imams have talked about, as I've told you, revolution through immigration. It's happening. In fact, it's happened. Ask the people in Britain. Ask the people in France. Ask the people in Sweden. Ask the people in Belgium. Start asking the people in New York, and New Jersey, and Michigan. Ask the people in Texas, in Northern Virginia. We're not talking about Indonesians and Singaporeans. We're talking about Islamists who kill Muslims. The most radical element pouring into our country, pouring into the West. And you have to be deaf, dumb, and blind not to see it and hear it. I've taken more crap for being the point of the spear than you can possibly imagine. The pressures that I come under, and I reject them. Because I'm right. I'm not right because I'm Nostradamus. I'm not right because I'm Aristotle and Einstein. I'm right because I see it. The lies that are being told about our country, our history, our great heroes, our founders, it's all intentional. The lies that are being told about the Israelis as they fight for their survival, surrounded by enemies. Hamas. And the Hamas data being used by the Western media to destroy Israel, to spread anti-Semitism, to spread Islamism, and to destroy our country in the West. Now, why would that be, you ask? And I've explained it. It's the Marxist Islamist fusion. The Marxist, the radical left agenda in our culture, fused with the incoming Islamist culture. All reject our founding. The American experiment. Our tolerance, our free speech, our freedom of association. You see, we should all be the Christians, the black Christians in Africa. We should all be the Jews in Israel and Australia. We should all be the Hindus who are also under attack by the Islamists, or the atheists. We should all understand what we're facing, and we should unite to fight it. When you have individuals in our country who are preaching on behalf of this enemy, it is diabolical. It's evil. It is diabolical and it is evil. The Democrat Party doesn't see things this way. That's why Omar is a Democrat. That's why Tlaib is a Democrat. That's why the Marxist side, Bernie Sanders, is a Democrat. Elizabeth Warren is a Democrat. That's why Mondami ran as a Democrat. The Democrat Party has never embraced this country. That doesn't mean Democrats out there don't embrace the country. Many do. That's not my point. I'm talking about the ideological leadership of the Democrat Party. There's simply no question about it. The borders were wide open. They knew when you have open borders and you're not vetting, you're going to have terrorists in here. They had to know it. They had to know, the Biden regime and the Democrats, and when they were bringing people in here from Afghanistan and not vetting them, that terrorists would secrete themselves in the population, and they have. And even today, they reject the idea of deportation. Don't let them tell you otherwise. They reject deportation. Only deportation can solve what they've done to our country. Only deportation can allow us to remove the cancer of terrorism, would-be terrorists, radical Islamists from this country. There's no other way. And they reject it. They reject it. The media reject it. The West and our country were already inflicted by Marxism. I called it American Marxism. I wrote a whole damn book on it. Many of you read it. Sold almost 1.5 million copies. And then when you interject Islamism, they have the same goal, the same purpose. You hear people talking about it now. Nobody talked about it 6 months ago. Nobody. But me. And I took more crap for this than you can imagine. They call it the green-red combination and so forth. It's Marxist Islamist. That's what it is. And what they have in common is the destruction of the United States of America, the destruction of the state of Israel, the destruction of all Western society. Marx wants it destroyed. The Islamists want it destroyed. They'll figure out what it all looks like when they're done and see who survives among them. But they're not thinking about that right now. And I have said again and again, I have written that Americanism and Marxism are utterly incompatible. That Americanism and Islamism are utterly incompatible. And I find it interesting when we have some of these buffoons with podcasts on the left, or even platforms on cable TV, they call me anti-Muslim. Anti-Muslim? Islamists have slaughtered 600,000 Muslims in Syria, 250,000 Muslims in Yemen, and I'm calling out the people who've killed them. The Islamists. Now I'm going to get a little bit more specific. And let me just say this on the way into this break. Well, let me say it when I come back. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, I have a question for you. Do you believe America's best days are still ahead? With the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence coming up in less than a year, my friends at the Heritage Foundation are taking stock of the current situation, and they need your input. They've launched a survey on America's future to gauge how Americans feel right now about where we are as a nation and where we're headed in the next 250 years. You know, for decades, your American values have been under attack, but now, with President Trump's administration in office, we have an opportunity to turn the tide and usher in a new golden age for America. But the Heritage Foundation needs to hear from you. What policies do patriots like you most care about? What do you believe are the defining principles of America? What legacy do you believe we should pass on to the next generation? Please visit heritage.org/Levin today and share your feedback and help shape the future of America. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. We're going to need all 3 hours this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Boston. I've been watching these press conferences. They're terrible. L.A., I watched the press conference, the first one there. That was terrible. I'm talking about the press conference. Let's see here. Did you see there was a plot, Mr. Producer, for New Year's Eve? Who was behind that? Who was behind that, ladies and gentlemen? Who was behind the plot on New Year's Eve to commit a massive act of terrorism? Well, we're going to get into that. What was that professor teaching in Boston where the killer killed 2 beautiful students and wounded 9 others? I'll be right back. We're coming upon the 250th birthday of the United States, and it has me thinking, what will America look like 250 years from now? My friends at the Heritage Foundation want to know what you think. What policies should America prioritize? What principles should carry us into the decades ahead? As America enters a new golden age, Heritage recognizes that this is the time to take stock and to be intentional about how we shape the future of America. And they can't do it without your input. So please go to heritage.org/LEVIN and let them know what you think is important. Without patriots like you stepping up and speaking up for what you believe in, America as we know it can't survive for another 250 years. Please go to heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/LEVIN. Take the survey on America's future future. This survey takes less than 10 minutes to complete, but it is critical for making sure that the America we pass on to future generations is an America we're proud of. Go to heritage.org/Levin today. That's heritage.org/Levin. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
America's most powerful conservative voice. The Mark Levin Show. Dial in now. 877-381-3811.
All right. Where to start? Unfortunately, there's too many places to start, to be perfectly honest with you. That killing in Boston. You know, one of the two individuals that was killed was a young lady who was, as I understand, a vice president of the college Republicans there, Mr. Producer. Did you know that? Now, he picked that classroom, the killer. I assume it wasn't random. I assume it was for a reason. That classroom was picked. And so you start to look into these things. And I had to go to a Pittsburgh Chronicle, the Jewish Chronicle. But it was the JNS staff, Jewish News Service, outstanding publication for all. You should check it out. You should bookmark it. This is on Brown, at Brown University. Gunman kills 2, injures 9 at review session for Brown Jewish professors class. A gunman opened fire during a final exam review for the economics class of a Brown University professor who also teaches Jewish studies courses. On Saturday afternoon, killing 2 and wounding 9, according to law enforcement. That person of interest is no longer a person of interest, at least not still. Who knows? Rachel Friedberg, teaching professor of economics and faculty associate of Judaic Studies program and of the Population Studies and Training Center at Brown, reportedly said the attack occurred during a review session for her Principles of Economics class. Now, according to her official biography, she served for 4 years as an economic professor at Hebrew University of Jerusalem, and her research addresses economics of immigration, specifically econometric analysis of the outcomes and impacts of immigrants in the United States and Israel. She reportedly was not in the class. According to her biography, she's testified before Congress, participated in the Israeli Knesset committee deliberations. She is exploring the intersection of economics and Jewish studies. Friedberg's Principles of Economic course is the most popular class at Brown, taken by half of all undergraduates, her bio states. Her research includes Israel, Jewish social science, labor economics, and the United States. Now, I can't make an actual connection until we know exactly what's going on here, and we won't. But one wonders, doesn't one? There's that. There's this. Fox News, FBI arrests 4 alleged members of a radical pro-Palestinian group. The exception would be if it wasn't radical. Accused of plotting New Year's Eve bombings. Now, you think those bombings would just be targeting Jews? Now, that would be bad enough, but it's not. Individuals self-identified as members of the Turtle Island Liberation Front. Oh, they all have new names now. They come to our own country and they give themselves new names, you see. Federal authorities say they disrupted a credible terrorist threat over the weekend, arresting 4 alleged members of a radical pro-Palestinian extremist group. Now, the U.S. attorney there, Mr. Producer, where am I looking here? He came out. He gave a press statement. I want to play this. Let's go to cut 13, please. Go.
In November 2025, Defendant Carroll created a detailed bombing plot to use explosive devices to attack 5 or more locations across Southern California on this upcoming New Year's Eve. Carol and her co-defendant, Zachary Page, led the effort to obtain and build the bombs and to recruit others to join in their plot. Carol's bomb plot was explicit. It included a step-by-step instructions to build IEDs or improvised explosive devices and listed multiple targets across Orange County and Los Angeles. Carol also made clear her desires. She said, quote, "What we are doing will be considered a terrorist act." Carol and Page also discussed plans for follow-up attacks after their bombings, which included plans to target ICE agents and vehicles with pipe bombs. Carol stated that those plans would, quote, "take some of them out and scare the rest."
Cut 14, go.
I'll highlight some of the items found during those searches over the weekend. For example, in Carol's residence, law enforcement found multiple posters and materials associated with Turtle Island Liberation Front, including posters stating, quote, "Death to America, long live Turtle Island and Palestine," and, quote, "Death to ICE, Turtle Island Liberation Front." In Page's residence, law enforcement found a copy of the detailed bomb attack plan. This case is another reminder about the dangers that radicalized Antifa-like groups pose to public safety and the rule of law. Through the tireless work of our prosecutors in my office and our law enforcement partners, which you will hear from today, we disrupted this terror plot before buildings were demolished or innocent people were killed. But this is not the end of our work. My office is committed to extinguishing the far-left terror threats that we face, and will continue to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So now we're in the mode of trying to find people who are here who are plotting to destroy us. Now, we're not possibly going to find all of them, are we? No, we're not. Where are these people from? Who do they support? They're not Israelis, are they, Mr. Producer? They're not Jews, are they? I don't think so. They're not evangelical Christians. They're not Hindus. They're not Buddhists. Islamists. Islamists. See, I'm trying to make it easier for other radio hosts and TV hosts and podcasters to say what I've been saying for a long, long time. In fact, Mr. Producer went back. He said, I went back to 2023. There's a lot. I could go back much earlier, but we stopped at 2023. This is almost exactly a year ago, 2 years ago, November 13, 2023. Cut 1, go. I've been saying this over and over again. Our immigration system has imported Islamists. A lot of other people too, but Islamists for sure. Our immigration system has imported anti-Semites. Our immigration system has imported people who support the destruction of the United States of America. 2023. Nobody was talking about it. I could go back much further. And you want to know why they don't talk about it? Because there's a lot of pressure not to talk about it. That's why. Am I pointing out Islamists? I'm doing more to defend American citizens who are Muslims, who are assimilated into our society. Men like Zuhdi Jasser and so forth, than anybody else. Cut 2, go. December 5th, 2023. You see, this Islamist ideology is dangerous and deadly. And it's deadly to our own culture. Now, what am I talking about? Well, let's see here. This is from, where's this from, Mr. Producer? Post-Millennial. Post-Millennial, great site. Breaking. Governor Newsom cancels Christmas tree lighting ceremony after threats of disruption by pro-Palestinian activists. You see, these folks, these people, these activists are trying to replace our culture with their culture. And as I keep saying over and over again, it's not just Jews, it's Christians, Buddhists, Hindus, atheists, whoever is not an Islamicist or an Islamist. And so that's where we are now. The destruction of our college campuses, the destruction of our media, which already destroyed itself, but you get the point, and now the destruction of our holidays. Yep. And so people wonder why, in defense of our country, in defense of Mr. and Mrs. America, in defense of our Judeo-Christian founding, which creates a diverse and tolerant and open society for all faiths and people. Why would I dare to take on Catarleson and Bloated Bannon and all the rest of them? Because they're doing the same damn thing. That's why. From a neo-fascist perspective, rather than a... But you'll notice the overlap between them all. Qatari culture is better than American culture. Qatari culture is better than Israeli culture. Vladimir Putin is actually a practicing Christian. He's totally misunderstood. Hitler's misunderstood. It was really Churchill who dragged us into World War II. And we'll bring in economics types as history professors who will tell us why the Holocaust could not have happened, or why it's overstated, or on and on and on. Why do we pay for this, America? Why do we watch this? It's time to speak out. It's time to speak out against these people by name. By name. This is your country. These are grifters. They're selling you out. They're selling out our country. These are grifters. And worse, they give aid and comfort to the enemy. Aid and comfort to the enemy. That's why the enemy wants to hear from them. That's why the enemy wants to be interviewed by them. That's why they sound like the enemy. They regurgitate the enemy's propaganda. It's not good enough to sit on the fence. It's not good enough to pretend it's not happening. I'm going to focus in on Australia now, as soon as we come back, because this is so horrific. But it portends what's going to happen in our country and all countries. If we don't have more of our leaders who speak out, who take action. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, I have a question for you. Do you believe America's best days are still ahead? With the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence coming up in less than a year, my friends at the Heritage Foundation are taking stock of the current situation, and they need your input. They've launched a survey on America's future to gauge how Americans feel right now about where we are as a nation and where we're headed in the next 250 years. You know, for decades, your American values have been under attack, but now, with President Trump's administration in office, we have an opportunity opportunity to turn the tide and usher in a new golden age for America. But the Heritage Foundation needs to hear from you. What policies do patriots like you most care about? What do you believe are the defining principles of America? What legacy do you believe we should pass on to the next generation? Please visit heritage.org/Levin today and share your feedback and help shape the future of America. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. What happened in Australia reminded me of a scene out of Schindler's List, where I believe it was the Nazi colonel goes out on the balcony. The enslaved Jews are carrying wood, chopping wood, doing what they're forced to do at gunpoint. And he goes on the balcony and he takes out his rifle and he starts shooting them, one at a time, like he's hunting wild animals. These two subhuman bastards, a father and a son, with these very powerful rifles. I've carried, if it's the rifle I think it is, that rifle once in my life, many decades ago, for deer hunting. We never saw any deer. I never shot a deer. But those are big rounds, and that's a powerful rifle. And they're meant to kill, and kill fast and hard. And you watch those people running, thousands of them. They're to celebrate the first night of Hanukkah in a public area on a beach, with their children, with their babies, with their elderly parents, women running and screaming. You can hear them in the background. Their entire world coming apart, being destroyed, stunning, shocking. These are human beings. It's Australia. These are Islamists. They tell us they're Islamists. And we watch a video of a very big hulk of a man. I still can't tell if he's a Christian or a Muslim, based on the reports. Remember, I talk about Islamists, who grabs the one gunman, the father, by the neck, grabs the rifle from him, and the other gunman, his son, shoots him at least twice in an act of incredible heroism. I want you to focus on him for a second. That man showed the entire world what we human beings are capable of in a good way. That man was not of the same faith, Christian or Muslim, as the Jews who were being slaughtered. And he put his life on the line. And he said he'd do it again. Is it so hard for all of us to speak out against this? Whether it's podcasters, whether it's politicians, imams, or others, is it really that hard? This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. I'd like to encourage you, from time to time to check out my social sites where I've been retweeting what a lot of smart people are saying, a lot of research smart people have been doing, a lot of scholarship smart people have been doing about this threat that surrounds us. And each and every day, people looking over their shoulders are not sure what to expect anymore. And I get it. I get it. The Prime Minister of Australia is a hardcore liberal, meaning the government is run by hardcore liberals. They've had their borders wide open. They've had massive immigration. There have been massive acts of anti-Semitism. I want to play something for you. It's only 10 seconds. Hat tip Breitbart, our friends over there. Here just 2 years ago, Palestinians and other people, Islamists, marching on the steps of the Sydney Opera House, chanting, raise your volume, cut 3, go. You know what they're yelling? Gas the Jews. Gas the Jews. Gas the Jews. Islamists. Gas the Jews. At the steps of the Opera House in Australia. And they mean it. They mean every bit of it. While they're slaughtering Christians in Africa, slaughtering Muslims in Africa and the Middle East, slaughtering Jews, trying to destroy the West. Now, the Marxists in the West, they'll not confess to supporting any of this. They'll put out statements and so forth. But make no mistake about it. They want the destruction of the West, too. Bernie Sanders is a Marxist communist. He's actually a Stalinist. He went to a Stalinist kibbutz. He never talks about it. But there are others who do, who had been members of the party or the ideology of communism in their youth, and they remember Bernie Sanders. They remember him picking that kibbutz, the Stalinist kibbutz. He's not alone. He's not alone. In our own Congress, we've got a larger and larger percentage of the Democrat Party that is Marxist. They call themselves progressive. Any of them call themselves progressive. You know what that means. I wrote an entire book on this, too. Rediscovering Americanism and the Tyranny of Progressivism. Just break it open and take a look. I've laid this out over the decades. It's amazing to me that when you look at many of the supporters for the neo-fascist right and their podcasters and their comedians, they reject knowledge, they reject books, they reject scholarship, they reject learning. They're all emotion and all anger because they're stirred. They're stirred by the grifters. They're stirred the way the Qataris want them to be stirred, the way the Putin regime wants them to be stirred, the way the communist Chinese want them to be stirred, the way Iran wants them to be stirred against their own country. And when people don't learn the history of this country, they don't learn the principles of this country, why men and women fight for this country, then they are susceptible to the brainwashing of the left in our colleges and universities and the brainwashing by the neo-fascists and their podcasters and the rest. They're susceptible to it. I want you to listen for a moment to Pastor John Hagee. He's not just one of the great Christian pastors and leaders in this country. He's just one of the great men of this country, period. I want you to listen to what he had to say yesterday on his pulpit. Just 2 minutes. I call him my pastor. Cut 7, go.
Today is the first day of Hanukkah. It's a celebration that commemorates the Jewish people's victory over their oppressors. How many of you understand what is happening on Hanukkah? Let me see your hand. About 1 in 10. Listen very closely. It is the festival of lights because miraculously the temple's menorah burned for 8 days on 1 day's supply of oil. It was considered a miracle. We have long said that the fight against anti-Semitism was a battle not just for the soul of America, but Western civilization itself. Anti-Semitism has never been a Jewish problem. It is a moral problem. It is a Christian problem. It is our problem. Today, another Jewish holiday is Jews gathered to celebrate in Australia, where the Jewish community makes up less than 0.5% of the entire Australian population. Gunmen have barbarically murdered 12 innocent people. That's today. God chooses the Jewish people to be cherished. They are God's cherished people. They are God's covenant people. They are God's people that He has chosen to carry the torch of truth to our generation. This is not about politics, and we stand today here boldly and eternally with the Jewish state and its people, wherever they are. An attack against them is an attack against all of us. For Jerusalem's sake, we will not be silent, and we are not going to hold our peace. We are in a fight, and we are going to win this fight. We are going to win this fight. Stand with Israel.
It's a remarkable man. I want to thank all the righteous Gentiles, red-blooded Americans, patriots, for what you're doing and saying today. You do not get enough attention. Instead, the more evil, the more diabolical, the more racist, the more bigoted, the more anti-Semitic, the more anti-Christian, the more attention you get. The more attention you get. And I speak not just of the Catarlsons and the Bannons and the Gateses and the Marjorie Trader Greens, not just them, that's a handful. Those who sit in silence while they hear and watch what's going on. Even worse, those who claim they can't criticize them because they're their friends. They're their friends. May I ask you in this audience, do you have friends who hate Jews and Christians? Who talk up Hitler and talk down Churchill? Do you have friends like that, Mr. Producer? Of course you don't. We get to choose our friends. You know, we get to choose whether they remain our friends. We get to choose whether we speak out or we don't. Where are all the Republican leaders? There are some who speak out and speak out strongly. And I want to thank them. The president does. I want to thank him. Ron DeSantis does. Greg Abbott does. I want to thank them. And there are others. But where are the rest? Where are they? This is America's fight. This is our fight. Civilization versus barbarians. Where are they? In the Democrat Party, I can count them on one hand, maybe two. Fetterman's out there. Unapologetic. He's going to get a Democrat primary opponent. But he speaks out. You have to live with yourself. I have the deepest contempt for the people who are doing this to us, who are American citizens, who are siding with the devil, who are siding with genocidal monarchies, fascist communists. I have the deepest contempt for these people. It's Benjamin Netanyahu, who should be loved by Americans, loved by the West, who has led his people in a righteous war, a war of defense, a defensive war. Yes, on behalf of his people. Yes, on behalf of the Holy Land. Yes, on behalf of the West, which is too cowardly, with bigger armies, with bigger populations, relying on Israel, and then undermining it. Cut 8, go.
I call upon you to replace weakness with action, appeasement with resolve. Instead, Prime Minister...
He's condemning the Prime Minister of Australia, who's a disgusting disgrace. Go ahead.
Weakness with weakness, and appeasement with more appeasement. Your government did nothing to stop the spread of anti-Semitism in Australia. You did nothing to curb the cancer cells that were growing inside your country. You took no action. You let the disease spread. And the result is the horrific attacks on Jews we saw today. We saw an action of a brave man, turns out a Muslim brave man, and I salute him, that stopped one of these terrorists from killing innocent Jews. But it requires the action of your government, which you're not taking. And you have to, because history will not forgive hesitation and weakness. It will honor action and strength. That's what Israel expects of each of your governments in the West and elsewhere, because the disease spreads and it will consume you as well. But we are worrying right now about our people, our safety, and we do not remain silent. We fight those who try to annihilate us. They're not only trying to annihilate us, they attack us because they attack the West.
Mayor Eric Adams, yesterday. Cut 9, go.
Words have meaning. Words have impact, and words have power. Everyone needs to understand what words mean before they repeat them, before they shout them, before they defend them. That attack in Sydney is exactly what it means to globalize intifada. We saw the actual application of the globalization of intifada in Sydney, because the attacker knew who he was targeting, and he knew why. A rabbi and a Holocaust survivor killed for being Jewish. Anti-Semitism has no place in our city and our society.
John Fetterman, cut 10, go.
I would say, yeah, of course we should all universally condemn all of these things. I mean, just imagine two people, organized to try to kill as many Jews as possible. And thankfully that stopped. But I mean, almost 30 people wounded, 12, I'm reading 12 people killed. I mean, just for celebrate a holiday right now. I mean, it's astonishing. And now, you witnessed that in Australia for years, these massive kinds of anti-Israel protests again and again and again in those kinds of places. It's those things kind of penetrate. And now So that's where we're at. I mean, how can't we just defend, a lot of these views and not just call it what it is? Anti-Semitism is a worldwide scourge, and it's constantly demonstrated to be deadly, and it keeps manifest itself in these things, just like what's happened now in Australia, too.
Cut 11. Go.
And Senator, a moment ago, Lindsey Graham was with me, your colleague from South Carolina, who said a warning to anyone who is trying to say that there should be a Palestinian state. If you create a Palestinian state, what you will get are more killings of Jews. Do you agree?
Absolutely. It's an absolute betrayal for Israel and for the worldwide Jewish community, like whether it's France or Australia or any of these nations, our Western allies now calling for a two-state solution when Hamas refuses to disarm and are actively trying to kill Jews. I can't imagine why anybody would do that at this point. That is not the appropriate reward after 10/7 and this thing. So I absolutely support Israel's continue to take out leaders from Hamas and Hezbollah as well, too. They need to be held accountable, and I do hope they can work together with the American forces in Syria to take out the people responsible for taking 2 American lives in Syria just yesterday now, too.
Amen. And I guarantee you Israel would be more than happy to take out that ISIS cell. Because who the hell else will? I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
As a consumer, you can carry the success or failure of businesses in the palm of your hand. Their success can depend on your decision to spend money with them or their competitor. Well, my friends at Pure Talk would like to say thank you from the bottom of their hearts for choosing Pure Talk for your wireless needs. Because of you, they've had a record-breaking year. Because of your generosity through their Roundup for Charity program, they've been able to donate over $500,000 to America's Warrior Partnership, who stands on the front lines of helping to prevent veteran suicide. Your patronage has allowed Pure Talk to donate 1,000 hand-sewed Made in America flags to your fellow veterans. And when you choose Pure Talk as your wireless provider, you help Pure Talk support American jobs right here in our country. Like I said, as a consumer, you have the power to make or break companies. And with the money the big wireless guys throw around on advertising, you're inundated with offers everywhere you look. So from everyone in the Pure Talk family, thank you for your trust, and God bless you. Senator Chris Murphy today. Has anybody criticized this guy? He blamed President Trump for the shooting at Brown University. Shouldn't that be condemned? But it won't be. Shouldn't that be condemned? But it won't be. I'm monitoring who is saying what now, just so you know. So-called podcasters and influencers, members of Congress, people who want higher office and so forth. I'll be right back. As a consumer, you can carry the success or failure of businesses in the palm of your hand. Their success can depend on your decision to spend money with them or their competitor. Well, my friends at Pure Talk would like to say thank you from the bottom of their hearts for choosing Pure Talk for your wireless needs. Because of you, they've had a record-breaking year. Because of your generosity through their Roundup for Charity program, they've been able to donate over $500,000 to America's Warrior Partnership, who stands on the front lines of helping to prevent veteran suicide. Your patronage has allowed Pure Talk to donate 1,000 hand-sewed Made in America flags to your fellow veterans. And when you choose Pure Talk as your wireless provider, you help Pure Talk support American jobs right here in our country. Like I said, as a consumer, you have the power to make or break companies. And with the money the big wireless guys throw around on advertising, you're inundated with offers everywhere you look. So from everyone in the Pure Talk family, thank you for your trust, and God bless you.
Mark Levin says today what the backbenchers will repeat tomorrow. Call Mark at 877-381-3811.
You know, part of the problem we have in this country and other countries too, but I'm concerned about and focused in my own country, this country, the United States of America. The dumbing down of communication, the hijacking of podcast platforms by seriously evil and dumb people, or just the nitwittery that exists on these platforms. Now, there are very, very important exceptions. Please don't get me wrong. There really are. But I said exceptions, not the rule. Exceptions, not the rule. And so there's a piece that was written, Ben Sixsmith, if that is his name, at the Telegraph. Podcasts are now mostly mid-wit slop. It's time to tune out. Again, to some extent, he overstates it. But there is a huge problem with aspects of it. Don't you agree? I think you can. You know the smart people and the entertaining people and the substantive people. From the neo-fascists, the neo-Nazis, the Marxists, the Islamists, the phonies and the frauds. He writes, it may be hard to believe, but there was a time when podcasts seemed like a wonderful idea. They were cheap enough to record and promote that people could thrive outside of the organs of traditional media. They were flexible enough to encompass all kinds of styles and perspectives. Personally, he writes, I love to be informed and entertained while exercising or doing the washing. Again, I'm not talking about all. I'm reading what he wrote. But the explosion of creativity that the forum promises sounded less as a bang than a splutter. You need only to look at Spotify's list of the most popular podcasts in Britain this year. He's a Brit. It makes for grim reading. Indeed, it is a powerful argument against democracy. Here you will find a lot more that flatters the listener than that which challenges them. A lot more opportunism than creativity. And an awful lot of people from those organs of traditional media that podcasting was meant to liberate us from. How is it, for example, that the most popular politics podcast in the UK is hosted by the consummate insiders, Rory Stewart and Alistair Campbell? Stewart has never heard of an establishment position he didn't think he should have, and has never held an establishment position in which he didn't think he was failed rather than being a failure. Campbell worked on the case, and he goes on. What he's saying here is some of the most popular, if not the most popular, podcasters in the West, including in the United States. What are they producing? They're formulaic. They paint by the numbers. They're very predictable. Others are crazy. They're nuts. Others use the audience, really betray the audience with lies, with fear-mongering, with scare tactics. Others try to be as outrageous as they can to draw attention to themselves. His point is that, with some exceptions, of course, what do you get out of it? What do you get out of it? I personally think podcasting, or what I call digital TV, but podcasting, could use a little bit more intelligence. Is that a bad way to put it, Mr. Producer? I'm not saying intellectualism. I'm saying intelligence. Substance. Now, I go through a list of podcasts that I love and think are great, and I can go through a list of the other, but what's the point? You know what you like and don't like. Podcasting feeds off social media. Podcasting feeds off social media. Social media, in many ways, is a very, very dark place. And very, very terrible things happen there. Now, again, some very good things happen there. But that's not the problem. It's the terrible things that happen there. And I find that they're kind of linked. Podcasters use social media use podcasters. How many hits did you get? How many eyes do you have? How many followers do you have? It doesn't even matter what the substance is. I feel there needs to be a change. Not by government. There needs to be a change. People of goodwill. And yet strong views need to begin to do podcasts. That's what needs to happen. People who are serious but have fun. People who can be scholarly but entertain. That's what's needed. Not all this dreck. Not all this slop. Somebody wakes up in the morning. They go to their studio in the basement, turn on the lights, turn on their machines, open their microphone. Maybe they'll have a guest. Some of them can't handle their shows by themselves. They have to have guests. Always guests. Most of them have guests. They can't talk for 15, 20, 30 minutes because they really have nothing to say. It's very much unlike what I do here, which is conservative talk radio, American talk radio. We have guests from time to time. That's good. We don't have guests all the time. 3 hours a day. 5 days a week. Podcasters can't pull that off. A lot of podcasters are people who failed at radio or wish they could do radio, but there's no room for them, while complaining about radio and saying that radio is dying. Most of the podcasters I've met want to be radio hosts too, but they can't cut it. Most of the podcasters I know who can do radio do great podcasting. This is the truth. Now, podcasting is a platform. It started really in the early 2000s. And people were very hopeful that it would break the back of corporate media, and it's done some of that, but that it would be a wonderful, wonderful avenue for real debate. And we conservatives, we constitutionalists, we win when we debate substance. But look at the people who are often at the very top of the list. Comedians, not very good ones either. Failed comedians is really the way to put it. People who couldn't hold jobs on network TV or cable TV. They're able to succeed at podcasting because they reinvent themselves. They like to drop the F-bomb. They use Saul Alinsky tactics, targeting people, attacking people. They create conspiracies. They promote conspiracies. They interview each other. So many of them, it's like the Real Housewives of fill in the blank, don't you think, Mr. Producer? Really. The Real Housewives of this town, that town, the other town. Bunch of yentas. Gossiping. Scratching each other's eyes out. That's what some of these podcasters are like. Bunch of yentas. Scratching each other's eyes out. So there are really, really good ones. And you know who they are. Just not enough. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
As a consumer, you can carry the success or failure of businesses in the palm of your hand. Their success can depend on your decision to spend money with them or their competitor. Well, my friends at Pure Talk would like to say thank you from the bottom of their hearts for choosing Pure Talk for your wireless needs. Because of you, they've had a record-breaking year. Because of your generosity through their Roundup for Charity program, They've been able to donate over $500,000 to America's Warrior Partnership, who stands on the front lines of helping to prevent veteran suicide. Your patronage has allowed Pure Talk to donate 1,000 hand-sewed Made in America flags to your fellow veterans. And when you choose Pure Talk as your wireless provider, you help Pure Talk support American jobs right here in our country. Like I said, as a consumer, you have the power to make or break companies. And with the money the big wireless guys throw around on advertising, you're inundated with offers everywhere you look. So from everyone in the Pure Talk family, thank you for your trust, and God bless you. President Trump, the White House yesterday, cut 4, Mr. Producer, go.
Before we begin, however, I want to just pay my respects to the people. Unfortunately, 2 are no longer with us. Brown University, 9 injured, and 2 are looking down on us right now from heaven. And likewise in Australia, as you know, that was a terrible attack. 11 dead, 29 badly wounded. And that was an anti-Semitic attack, obviously. And I just want to pay my respects to everybody. I must say in Syria also, we had an attack in Syria, and we had 3 great patriots terminated by bad people, and not the Syrian government. It was ISIS. Syrian government fought by our side. The new president fought by our side. But I just want to pay my respects to the families. We also had 3 injured, but 2 of them are already out of the hospital, and one's going to be okay. But we lost 3, so it was a rough day. But to Australia and the Prime Minister, to everybody that we know so well, we get along with so well, we have a great relationship. That's a terrible situation going on over there. Think of that. And Brown University, great school, great, really one of the greatest schools anywhere in the world. Things can happen. So to the 9 injured, get well fast, and to the families of those 2 that are no longer with us, I pay my deepest regards and respects from the United States of America.
Now, what was said about the president yesterday by Senator Chris Murphy, who is constantly given a television platform by CNN and MSNBC and others, about Brown University. Listen to this one. Even Dana Bash at CNN was shocked. Cut 15, go.
What we know is that stronger laws do work. And since we passed that bill in 2022, the first bill in 30 years that strengthens the nation's gun laws, gun violence rates and mass shooting rates have come down in this country. But this is not shocking, because over the last year, President Trump has been engaged in a dizzying campaign to increase violence in this country. He is restoring gun rights to felons and people who have lost their ability to buy guns. He eliminated the White House Office of Gun Violence Protection, and he has stopped funding mental health grants and community anti-gun violence grants.
Let's stop here. This is really evil. This is really evil. What's being done here? Australia has some of the strictest gun laws, if not the strictest in the world, of any Western country. And look what happened. He makes these comments. It's all politics all the time with this guy. Go ahead.
Democrats supported in that 2022 bill. So he has been engaged in a pretty deliberate campaign to try to make violence more likely in this country. And I think you're unfortunately going to see the results of that on the streets of America.
That's a pretty big statement. He's in a campaign to make violence more likely.
Of course. I mean, he's knowingly restoring gun rights to dangerous people.
Let's try and get this guy on the show, Mr. Producer, and I want you to tell his people, if this is what he believes, he should come on the show and say it. He should come on the show and say, you know, ladies and gentlemen, I was going to say something. I better not say it. I'll save it for another time. I'll save it for another time. But it's really just disgusting. We've got this guy, Ro Kahana, who's actually accomplished nothing in his life. 0. I think he went to temple like I did. but he's on Fox Business today. Cut 18, go.
It's just disgusting. It's just been an awful weekend. Obviously, we need to figure out who the perpetrators were, what the cause was, and address that. And we also have an issue of mass shootings in this country, in college campuses, at high schools.
You know where they really have an issue of mass shootings? By the Islamists. We just had one in Australia. We have them all throughout the Middle East and Africa, all throughout Europe. And yes, we have them here too. We have them here too. And so the answer isn't to disarm the law-abiding. I don't know how many more times I can say this. I look at these mass shootings and I say to myself, if I were somebody and I were in that crowd, I want a gun on my hip. I'd want to pull it out, and I want to have a fighting chance to save other people and save myself. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. But there was a lot of evil over the weekend, wasn't there? And then we read that Robert Reiner and his wife were murdered, and there was a terrible press conference. It was hard to understand anything. And now we know by their son, Nick, for God's sakes, stabbed to death. And I looked at a family photo. Nick's a big guy, and he's had drug problems in the past. Just horrible. Excuse me. And, of course, a lot of us remember him from All in the Family and also his directing career, which was actually quite excellent. He was a political leftist, of course. Very left-wing. Democrat, Hollywood, like the rest of them. Not all of them, but most of them. But nobody should have to go that way. Do you ever think about that, Mr. Producer? How you might go, or like stabbing somebody. If you're stabbed to death, that must be damn painful, no? Awful. Just awful. So, may he rest in peace. And then on top of that, this even before that, the Boston murders, the Rhode Island murders at Brown. Young kids, really, taking a test that they've studied for. They want to make something of themselves. And somebody bursts into their classroom, starts executing them, kills 2 of them, wounds 9 of them. The guy's still on the run. He'll get caught. Just a matter of time. He'll be caught. Looks like a big fat slob, if you ask me. Punk. Then, of course, our soldiers and others who were murdered by ISIS in Syria. And then the mass murder in Australia, which is just hard to comprehend. It really is. It's and then we see a plot broken up in Southern California that the U.S. attorney there was talking about. Palestinian radicals for New Year's Eve. My wife and I, my mother-in-law, my stepdaughter, we went to we went to a Hanukkah first lighting event of the first night of Hanukkah yesterday evening in a public place. Boy, was it cold, by the way. I mean, the wind was blowing. It had to be 5 degrees, something like that. Freezing. And I want to thank law enforcement, Governor Youngkin and his folks. They didn't know I was there. I just showed up. My wife was involved in making sure it was secure. The rabbi, fantastic Chabad rabbi, Chaim Cohen, his family was there, little ones. A couple hundred people. In the past, there have been 500, 600 people. But it was very cold, and people were worried. They were worried. They were worried. And you can understand why. The president's trying to address this. He wants to deport these people that were brought in here by Democrats and others. That's the truth. And we've got judges that won't allow it. Or make it incredibly difficult. And that's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. Because what are we supposed to do about it? When we read about these horrendous events, I mean, look at Australia. Australia is still ruled by a buffoon. They still have open borders. They still have massive gun control. If you're a terrorist, you're going to get a weapon. You're going to get it from the Iranians. You'll get it from money through the Qataris. You'll get a weapon. If you're a regular citizen, where are you supposed to get your weapon from? And why shouldn't you be able to defend yourself? I mean, that's a basic human right, isn't it? That's why the Second Amendment's in there. As a matter of fact. It's just, it was a very, in that respect, it was a very, very depressing weekend, I thought, with all this stuff going on. Everywhere you turned. And just terrible. But the holidays are here. Sorry, I'm sneezing to the truth. So we also have to look at the bright side of things too, right? Hanukkah is a holiday about the Maccabees and their strength. They fought to the last man. Christmas, very, very important holiday. And these are the positive time of our faiths and so forth. And so people seek to disrupt them. But it's always important to have faith. And remember who you are and remember God, and especially at times like this, I think. People question God. If this were going on, why would God permit this? Look, that's crossed my mind more than once, particularly when I look at what just took place in Australia or what took place at Brown or these other things that go on. 9/11, October 7. Why was there a Hitler? Why is there a Stalin? Why are these Islamists essentially free to slaughter people? I mean, it crosses your mind, right? And my take is very simple. I don't know if it's religious or faith-based or not. God tells us what's right and what's wrong. But he also gives us free will. And people use that free will at times to do very evil things, very horrendous and monstrous things. And so you ask, why doesn't God intervene? Well, perhaps he does in cases that we're not even aware of. And I suppose in those cases that he doesn't, he's relying on his good children, his faithful children to intervene. Us. This is the only reason, but it is one of the reasons I say you've got to take sides when it comes to good versus evil. You've got to take sides when it comes to bigotry and racism and anti-Semitism and anti-Christianity. You've got to take sides when it comes to protecting our country from people who come here and will not assimilate, will not share in what is the greatest culture on the face of the earth, and instead attack it, deride it, and try to destroy it. You have to take sides. If you don't take a side affirmatively, you're taking a side by acquiescence. When you have people you thought you knew with podcasts who sound like lunatics, who start attacking people because of their faith or their race, they shouldn't have a lot of followers, at least not in the United States. Overseas, that's one thing. But here, in our country, no. People of real faith should speak out. You heard Pastor Hagee last hour. And there are other pastors who are speaking out. But you don't have to be a pastor to speak out. You just need to have a belief system. You have to know right from wrong. When people are preaching bigotry and racism and anti-Semitism, they know that their words can cause violence. They know it. They know their words can cause violence. Especially when they're getting rich from it. And they're getting more extreme and more crazy in the things that they say. They know that the things they're saying can lead to violence. But they do it anyway. So I feel I have a responsibility with a platform like this and an audience like you and other platforms and audiences as well to confront this. And I think people of goodwill and people who are faithful agree. This isn't some game. This is life and death. This is for all the marbles. What kind of country you want to live in? I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
From the New York Post, Zohran Mamdani eyeing a lawyer who defended al-Qaeda terrorists for top city hall job. Even if he doesn't hire this guy, can you imagine? And he's got quite a conga line of radicals and nut jobs that he's bringing in. Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani, Marxist Islamist, has tapped a controversial lawyer who defended an al-Qaeda terrorist and a radical anti-Israel campus leader at Columbia for a high-ranking position at City Hall, the Post has learned. Ramzi Qassem, I've seen this guy, a law professor at City University of New York and a member of Mamdani's transition team for legal affairs, is the top candidate for chief counsel, the most important advisory role in the mayor's office. Qassem, 47, was one of the attorneys who defended Mahmoud Khalil. Remember this guy? Khalil, but remember this lawyer? A Syrian-born leader of the pro-Palestinian encampment at Columbia, was detained by Immigration and Customs Enforcement and earmarked for deportation. So let's look at this. Khalil comes into this country really under false pretenses, in my view, and I believe he's still here. If not, great. But look at this lawyer. This lawyer has a tenured position at the at CUNY, the City University in New York, and he is in the system. He's now part of the system. And he got him released, as I recall that. In addition to Khalil, Qasem helped to defend terrorist Ahmed al-Darbi, an al-Qaeda member who was convicted in 2017 of bombing a French oil tanker off the coast of Yemen. Everyone's entitled to legal representation. No, that's not true. What do you mean, Mark? Well, nobody's entitled to legal representation in Qatar, in Jordan, in Saudi Arabia, and the list goes on, are they? No. All decisions are summary, and they come from the top, the monarchy, the dictatorship, the police state. So in America, this is how they exploit our system, our liberty, our Bill of Rights. They trash our country while exploiting our country. Qasem, the lawyer, was born in Syria, was also engaged in anti-Israel protests at Columbia, where he attended law school and a fellowship funded by members of left-wing activists in the Soros family. I could have written this script without even knowing about it, right, Rich? In 1999, he wrote a letter to the editor of the Columbia Spectator newspaper criticizing the naming of a sandwich as an Israeli wrap because it was offensive to Muslims and Arabs. Well, if it's offensive to them, well, of course we have to rename it. What should we rename it? The Arafat sandwich? In other columns for the newspaper, he wrote that Israel's behavior amounted to a clear case of ethnic cleansing. And in another article in 1998, he wrote that Jews had come to the Middle East with the intention of conquering the land. He said a two-state solution between Israel and Palestine is not viable, nor is it desirable. I don't disagree with that. Other sources said they felt Qasem would be a great choice for the job. Of course. If you're a fruitcake, kook, crackpot. Do you know that Joe Biden named this guy in 2022 a senior policy advisor on immigration issues? That's why Trump's right. Biden wasn't running the place. These radicals were. Qasem and Mandami's campaign did not immediately respond to requests for comment from the Post. He isn't the only controversial attorney up for the spot. The Post previously revealed the self-touted socialist justice attorney Stephen Banks was on the short list for corporate counsel, and what insiders worried would bring too much of an activist mentality to role. The controversial Council on American Islamic Relations, we call them Hamas's CARE, honored Qasem with an award in September for his work defending Khalil. Excuse me. Both Texas and Florida have recently designated CARE a foreign terrorist organization. We should as a country as well, because we know exactly how they were founded. The FBI had bugs in the motel room. Think I'll ever get an award from CARE, Mr. Producer? The wrong kind of award, right? So this is Mandami. So he's in on it. That is, in on it. He's bringing in, or bringing on, individuals like this guy Qasem. And, New York is in for a rude awakening. I really feel bad. 48% of the people in New York did not vote for this nut job. And yet they're going to be dragged into this hell. It's very, very sad. It's also very, very true. So, I told you this element is in the country. It's metastasizing. The president is trying to deport a number of these people. The radical Democrats, that is lawyers in black robes, are trying to block him in every respect. But there are other things we need to do. Very much so. We need to prevent all foreign money from whatever country, but especially these terrorist-supporting countries in the Middle East, from providing funds to any of our colleges and universities, period. No go, period. Anybody proposing that? Anybody voting on that? I'll be right back.
The voice of reason in a sea of lunacy. Mark Levin. Dial in now. 877-381-3811.
This show is flying fast and flying past. Let's go to Nancy in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on the Mark Levin app. It's a very good app. You ought to try it out, folks. How are you, Nancy?
I'm hanging in there, Mark. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Great. Now, Mark, I'm going to give a perspective that may open people's eyes a little bit about not necessarily all Muslims are bad people, not necessarily all Jews are good or bad people, not necessarily all Christians are good or bad people. It's about whether people are just plain good people or rotten people. My father escaped with his life, running away from Hitler when he was 11, under the wing of a Christian woman who told the Gestapo at the border between Austria and France that this was her son. If it was not for a Christian woman, I wouldn't be alive today.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in addition, the only country that would let them in was Portugal, and they stayed there for 2 years. I have other cousins who ran away, escaping for their with their lives, not just for better economic times for their family. And they were able to flee to South Africa because, once again, that was one of the few countries, one of the very few, that would let Jewish people in. South Africa was a mixed-race country with white people, black people, and everybody else, okay? And they were all different religions. Then, separately from that, once there was trouble in South Africa when the apartheid white, viciously obnoxious leaders were thrown out after Mandela got out of prison, all the white people and all the Jews were nervous, and so they fled. My cousins fled to Australia, where, supposedly everything was fair and even-handed. And now they're in Australia, and you know that the bad, evil people, regardless of their religion, whether they're Islamists, whether they're Christians like Hitler, whether they're Tucker Carlson, who's Christian, or Candace Owens, guess what? They're fine if my Jewish relatives jump into the sea in their next exit, okay?
I'm running out of time. Let me tell you, I thank you for your perspective, and I agree with much of what you say. But however, there are ideologies. And if an ideology is tied to a political movement, as it was with the Third Reich, or an ideology is tied to a specific fundamentalist religious movement, that cannot be ignored, as you well know. So I agree with you. I've talked about Baranski, who nobody talks about and should talk about, and I knew very, very well. It was very close to him, and his daughter worked for me at the Department of Justice. A Roman Catholic who worked for the ambassador from Rome in Hungary, and he saved probably 3,000 to 4,000 Jews, maybe 8,000 Jews. The number's not totally known. And he put his life on the line. And as a matter of fact, as you also probably know, Nancy, in Israel, the highest honor goes to what they call righteous Gentiles, facing things like your father faced and so forth, who stepped in and stepped up and put their lives on the line in order to protect Jews against Hitler. And when you see that man in Australia, again, I don't care if he's a Muslim or a Christian, he's one or the other, based on these different reports I'm reading. This was a man of enormous humanity and a hero who put his life on the line. And your call is a very important call, Nancy, because it reminds me of something I should have said. Today, the reason why that man is held in such high esteem across the world, all faiths, is because he stood up. It's because of what he did. He's honored by the President of the United States, by the Prime Minister of Israel, even the weak Prime Minister of Australia. Thank you for your call, Nancy. It's a beautiful call. But what I'm trying to convey to all of you, This man put his life on the line. He didn't expect to live. He told a friend, I'm going to step in, I'm going to do it. I may die, tell my family XYZ. How hard is it to use our free speech rights in this country to condemn the neo-Nazis, the neo-fascists, to condemn nobody but podcasters and so-called self-appointed influencers, to condemn the Mandamis and his ilk? It doesn't take that much courage. It just takes morals. That's what it takes. When I jumped in about 8 months ago and started fighting these guys by name, it didn't take guts. Not the way I was raised. There's a right and there's a wrong, and everybody pretty much sitting on the sidelines waiting to see what would happen. Now more and more people are involved, and you should be too. You don't have to be a podcaster, a broadcaster, a politician, an author, and a columnist. You can be a plumber. You can be an electrician. In other words, people that really make the country work other than people like me. Maybe you work at a pizzeria. Maybe you drive a bus or an Uber or a Lyft, or maybe you're a taxi driver. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Speak out. You should condemn these people. You certainly shouldn't fund them. You certainly shouldn't subsidize them. That's just my view. And I know the vast majority of you in this audience agree with me, or you wouldn't be here. You know right from wrong. You know good from evil. You know America's a great place. You love Christians. You love Jews. You love people who are good and decent. You don't much care about it. Their ethnicity, their race, their faith. But when we know that people are spreading hate and by words really are seeking to spread violence, even though they deny it, and are spreading violence, even though they deny it, this is unacceptable. We're Americans. We're Americans. This is unacceptable in our country. If Qatar has a stranglehold on somebody, they should be called out. If Communist China has a stranglehold on somebody, they should be called out. If somebody is in it for the money, will say anything and do anything, they should be called out. And that's what I do. And we let the chips fall where they may. Chips fall where they may. Dave, San Jose, California, the great KSFO. How are you, Dave?
Oh, Mark, I am great. Thank you. I'm so happy to talk to you. My teacher, I've learned so much from you. And I hope you're doing well. And
doing great.
I've got a lot to say, and
I've got 3 minutes. Go.
So we are it's a battle between good and evil. It is the people of the book, the Jews and the Christians, versus everybody else. It's also the truth versus the lie, which is written about in the Quran, the Islamicist manual.
Look, I just can't trash all Muslims. I can't do it. I can't do it. The assistant manager loves Jews, is the nicest guy in the world, and he's Muslim. Zuhdi Jasser, who's one of my best buddies, he's fighting the Islamists. Literally created an organization, is threatened all the time by these people. He's fighting the Islamists. So I just can't go there. I love you, Dave. I appreciate your kind words. I really do. To me. I really do. But we have to take a hard break here anyway. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Let's go to Lita, Pergram, Tennessee, XM Satellite. How are you?
Hi, Mark Levin.
Hello. Hello again.
I just wanted to thank you for the courage and boldness that you display all the time. You're on the rooftop shouting truth, and I appreciate you and all that I learned from you.
Oh, thank you.
They always say, if you want to be great, to surround yourself with great people. And you and Lori Cardoza-Moore, who she
Maury?
has an organization called Proclaiming Justice to the Nations. I learn a lot from you. And
thank you. Well, tell me about Maury.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can she hear me, Mr. Producer? Hope
yes,
so.
I can hear you now.
I'm sorry. Tell me about Maury. I don't know who Maury is.
Oh, Lori. Her
Lori,
name
I'm
is
sorry.
Lori Cardoza-Moore.
Yes, tell me about her.
So she has an organization called Proclaiming Justice to the Nations.
Mm-hmm.
And she started in Franklin, Tennessee. And
what's it about, the group, I mean?
It educates Christians on their biblical responsibility to stand with our Jewish brethren.
Wow.
I've always wanted her and you to get together, and I've learned so much from the both of you. And I just want to say that Israel is the most humanitarian in times of war. They're the boots on the ground when any national disaster happens, and radical Islam has infiltrated, and Hamas controlled media has infiltrated our textbooks, which Lori fights tooth and nail. She goes into some very hard places with very hard audiences, trying to get the message across and the warning clear to wake people up. She has tried to get parents to read over the textbooks.
Well, based on your representation, I don't know her. She sounds pretty damn good to me, may I say.
To meet her, and
all right, my friend, they're waving me off. By the way, where is your town located? What's it near? Uh-oh. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just curious. I can look it up myself, I suppose. Hold on one second here. Did I miss another caller, Mr. Producer? Rick, that's right. Hold on one second. I'm looking, Rick. Hold on. I'm trying to find you. Rick in Nevada. Go right ahead, please. XM Satellite, Las Vegas.
Hey, Mark.
How are you, buddy?
How are you doing, sir?
Good.
So, where I really struggle with this generation that's up and coming, that is just kind of ignorant to a lot of things, is it has to go to the educational system. They're just taught, do what's in the book and you'll pass, rather than critical think about anything that goes on in life, right? If they're just given the facts right there, they take what's told to them as facts rather than question it and build their own knowledge, and they just take it as is, if that makes sense.
No, it does, and that makes them susceptible to these hustlers, these phony influencers. And I would add to that the failure to actually teach American history as American history. Good call, man. Thank you. I just want to update you on Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle got into heated argument, according to the New York Post, with their son Nick at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party 24 hours before they were murdered. They reportedly got into a very loud argument with their son Nick the night before their murders. The alleged dispute took place at O'Brien's Christmas party. Reiner Rob and Michelle left the party post-confrontation. It says here that their throats were slit. That's pretty horrendous. I want to salute you all. I want to thank you all. You're the greatest audience on the face of the earth. We're in this together. God bless you, and I'll see you tomorrow.